Welcome to the Motivation Without the Hype podcast with your host, Jez Perez. He's an author, high-performance coach, and motivational speaker. This show brings you inspiring messages and interviews to unleash your greatness in life and in business. So let's get started.
Hi everyone, welcome to Motivation Without the Hype podcast show. My name is Jez Perez, a former procrastinator into an action taker. We bring you inspirational messages and interviews, including motivational insights, tips, principles, and proven strategies that you can take action on without the hype in unleashing your greatness in life and in business. Now, we appreciate you plugging in and spending time with us, and we have a very special guest, and I'm super grateful to have him on our show all the way from Poland. Now, he is nicknamed Mr. Consistency. Michael is a best-selling author in the personal development field and a business coach. Now, he is obsessed with changing the world through daily habits, starting with his own habits in his world. In the last decade, he has published 19 books. Take note, guys, 19 books, sold over 80,000 copies of them, created dozens of new good habits, coached over 100 people in developing new habits, started a book advertising business, and quit his day job as a database administrator. Now, Michael preaches and practices consistent daily action. He believes this is the means to achieve success in any area of life, from parenting to business. Michael, welcome to the podcast show.
Thanks for having me, Jez, and it's a pleasure.
Now, I'm really grateful to have you on based on your experiences, walks of life, through successes. Can you please tell us who you are and what you do?
Well, I wear many hats, and talking about myself, come on, I could fill the whole hour, not just half of it, but quickly. Author, business coach, business owner, husband, father, Christian. That would be the main roles I have in my life.
And everything in between.
Yes, sir.
So Michael, before we dig deep, what really brought out your passion? As in, like, what really got you to that moment of time to say, you know what, it's time to move on. It's time to do things what I'm really great at, what I love to do. You know, being as a database administrator, you know, that's in IT. How did you move from your career right through to publishing and doing things that you love to do?
Okay, so you want the long story. All right. 10 years ago, in 2012, I read the book The Slight Edge, and its message is success is a few simple disciplines repeated over time. Before I read the book, I thought success is something grand. Winning a golden medal at Olympics, that's success. Or having a multi-million-dollar company. So I didn't even try. I didn't even give myself permission to try because, well, I was just not capable of succeeding, period. But when I heard or rather read the message of The Slight Edge, I was like, simple things repeated over time. Yeah, this I actually can do. And the lecture of the book made me to realize that, yeah, I can do it because I've tracked back my old successes. And yes, there were some disciplines behind those. And the same with my failures. It really was one, event. It was rather those small repeated errors in judgment. So then I decided to change my life, started those daily disciplines, and I tripled down on my personal development program. I read a lot, I listened a lot. One of the books I read was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I absorbed the message start with the end in mind, so I started working on my personal mission statement, and this is when I rediscovered my childhood dream of being an author. Then there was still a bumpy ride because I tried writing fiction in Poland, started a couple of blogs and failed, till I finally got into writing personal development books and publishing them, self-publishing them on Amazon. I remember I published the first book in May 2013, I started from the free launch and was like honored that few hundred people were willing to download my book and read it. And then when it switched to the from free to paid, like the next day someone bought, and the next day someone bought, and the next day someone bought, and I was like, whoa, people are willing to pay for what I wrote. Then I was really hooked. And
yeah, that's right. So you mentioned about, a few successful, simple disciplines repeat over time. What were one of those simple disciplines that you did to get better?
There were plenty of them, and it's actually like I'm still amazed how it went around, because for like 16 years I was avoiding any personal development, setting goals and so on. And then I just sat down, and in 15 minutes I set several goals, and I figure out like 15 different disciplines how to inch toward those goals. Then I quickly abandoned 5 of them because this was just a brainstorming session, and when I tried to implement that, that just didn't stick. But the rest of them, like 5 of them, are still in my life. So the answers are within us. When we talk about daily disciplines, okay, one of the original ones I still practice is practicing speed reading. I just for 10 minutes a day I practice speed reading, and when I started, this was actually something which really opened my eyes. After a month, I doubled my speed with just 10-minute practice sessions. I was really amazed. Okay, this is like, if this all it takes, just some consistency, and you are reaping such benefits, it's a no-brainer. And that was the event that made me, okay, I will stick with my disciplines even in those areas in which I just have zero belief it can succeed. Like, I have zero belief in myself, in my business abilities. I was a lifelong employee, so I had zero idea for a business. Well, writing, it's kind of a business, but I was so clueless, speaking about disciplines, that it took me a whole month before I realized, well, what writers do? They write. Okay, so I should do this daily. And
wow. You mentioned about daily habits, and we'll talk about that a bit later on. But I mean, speed reading. You even wrote a book about that as well. How to speed read. For someone who may be thinking, right, those who are listening and watching to the podcast show, like, how do you do speed reading for 10 minutes? Like, do you read the whole book? Do you read a couple of sections? If those who wanted to access, and we'll provide all the links, those who are watching and listening on the podcast show with the author books that Micahl has written. But what is the one technique that you can share about speed reading? Because I think that's really interesting. Many people tend to have this mindset of, it's too long to read, it's rigorous. I need to be in a nice setting. I probably need to go on the beach to read my book or be in a different environment. But how do you get into that mode of, okay, I'm making that discipline, 10 minutes, speed reading? How would you even get started in doing that? Is there certain techniques?
Well, techniques are secondary. You are right, this mindset, because I can show you a very simple technique. I read and I beat the rhythm while reading, and the goal of this is to disrupt this reading, hearing words in your head loop, because this is what really slows us down when we try to hear what we are reading, which is not necessary. Like, you're absorbing the sense and text with your eyes. You don't need the sound for that. But this is what we are used to, because this is how they taught us this at school. So this is one of the techniques. There are others, but it's actually right, the mindset. Like, I decided, well, I don't have 3 hours a day. 2-3 hours a day was what the guy who wrote the Polish book about speed reading, he recommended. Yeah, and I was like, no way I could do that. I have, family, full-time job, 3 kids. Nope, it's not gonna happen. But 10 minutes a day, yeah, I should do that. And I was like, a few simple disciplines repeated over time. Okay, let's test this. First I tested this, and then, as I said, okay, after a month I got results. I was, yes, this really works. Of course, the more time you dedicate for practice of anything, the faster is your progress. But if you do something and keep going, you cannot help but get better at it. You cannot help but inch toward your end goal. Like, if you want to write a book, if you write a paragraph a day, eventually you will finish a book. And the same with a race. Like, if you just step one leg in front of another and you are going in the right direction, you will finish the race, period. Yeah. So, it really became a part of my personal philosophy. That's why I was able to stick to it. And then, it was kind of, I will test it, a belief. But then, when I got the results, it's not a belief anymore. It was verified. And now, from the perspective of a decade, I can tell you with the full assurance, it works. It works in every single area of life. Whatever you do and you don't counter do it, you will get the results, always, period.
That's amazing. You mentioned so many key insights about, setting your goals. You talked about personal philosophy and also habits, but we'll talk about habits on the next question. But I want to just ask about personal philosophy because you did mention about some disciplines, repeat over time to be successful, but it all starts with the mindset. So how do you shape your mindset and how do you develop that personal philosophy? Can you just share with that?
Yeah, I have a book about that, trickle-down mindset, and like most of my books, I just reverse engineered what worked for me and then describe it. And in the end, what is your personal philosophy? It's your operating system, how you learned how the life operates, and those are your lenses. And how we shape our personal philosophy? By external inputs. And then when we are getting self-aware enough, we process those inputs via whatever, information we got, experiences we got, beliefs we have. So it's input, like in this old IT saying, garbage in, garbage out. So it's input. It's how you interpret the input, because, the same one exact situation, 2 people in that situation, and one will be, depressed, other will be elated. So it's all the matter of perspective. So your internal interpretation, and that's it. So when you want to shape your personal philosophy, you just need to change your input sources, and you have to be mindful of your internal dialogue, because, if you try to learn from someone and you are like, yeah, of course it worked for him because his parents are rich, and then you cannot learn. Yeah, this is what goes through your head, and you need to be self-aware enough to catch yourself at this. And okay, let's put aside my beliefs about him. Let's just listen what he teaches, and then maybe I will try implement not everything because my parents weren't rich, but whatever I can from what he teaches. So that's this difference between just switching data sources and also being mindful of your internal dialogue and what you are saying to yourself and how to counteract this self-talk. So those are 2 points.
Yeah,
and that's it.
That's important.
Well, I found the shortcut also, because people are for us both input sources, and this is how most of our personal philosophy was shaped by whatever parents told us and our siblings and so on. We were so absorbing everything when we were young, and so we just accepted the statements as reality. So that's one thing. People are data sources, but people can also be like this interpretation for us. You are dumb or you are great. Whatever they say, when we are young, we accept it. Later, it's a totally different story. I had 2 teenagers, now I had the third, so no, they don't accept it all. But what I mean by the shortcut is, if you want to change, find people who are like you want to be, and they will be your input sources, and you will start mimicking them. And also just be mindful of your internal dialogue, so you don't neglect or cancel whatever they are telling you, and you will become more like them, because this is how we operate like kids. They absorbed everything from their family life. This is how we live life: observe others, mimic them, and tadam. So that's the shortcut if you want to change your personal philosophy. Find people you want to be like, and spend time with them.
I think, Michael, for every problem, you've got a solution in your books. So guys, please do access, and we've got all the links provided. There's so many golden nuggets that you mentioned about, how to shape your mindset, building up velocity, which is really important, because, what you put in is what you're going to come out. So it's important to have those really great positive inputs. You did mention about some inner dialogue. So I know we're all filled with, positive and negativity, self-belief talks, negative self-talk. How do you deal with negative self-talk? Because sometimes it's not just a one-time thing. It's pretty much, it happens almost every time. So how do you deal with negative self-talk?
Well, the key to this is self-awareness, and that's the subject of another of my books. But if you are not able to detect what's going through your mind, you won't counteract it at all. You will just be in this automatic cycle, because you accept those thoughts as your own, and you already have neural loops in your brain, and you hear in your head, you're dumb, you're idiot, and you act accordingly. That's it. So in order, the first step, the necessary step to really deal with it, is to become aware of what's going through your mind. And, all kinds of mindfulness exercises are good for that. Spending time in silence, meditation. And we, of course, connote meditation with ums and so on. But meditation in the end is focusing your attention on one single thing. That's it. So whatever the thing is, one of the meditation techniques is just watching the pointer of your clock running around, and that's it. Or you can stare at the wall, and that's it. One point for 2 minutes. And when you try to focus on a thing, and one of the best things to focus on is your breath, inhaling, exhaling. When you do this, it's unavoidable that thoughts will pop up in your head, and you can I'm trying to focus on that, but what about this? So then you create this, this is a practice for you to notice that, okay, your thoughts just appear. They are not you. They are part of you, but they are not you. They appear uninvited, out of the blue. So thanks to this practice, this mindfulness practice, you can become self-aware of what's going through your head. And that's the step one. And then when you're noticing, then you can counteract. Idiot, that's interesting. What do you mean by that? The conscious dialogue with your subconscious mind, not just reacting to whatever it says.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I think self-awareness is the key. And I think if you're not intentionous about having self-awareness, you're not able to pick it up, because then it becomes in your subconscious mind. And you're like, oh yeah, cool. Then you live with it. But if you pick it up with that, then you're able to counteract that, which is fantastic. Really great strategy there. I loved it. You're an author of many books. What would be your first one you recommend for our community to start with?
Well, start with the end in mind. So read my first book, which is a personal mission statement, your roadmap to happiness. And you will be able to create, that's one, and then use your own personal mission statement, which is a game changer. I credit like half of whatever I achieved to the fact that I created my personal mission statement, and then I used it. So I refer to it every single day. And at the beginning, I referred to it like many times a day, and now it's engraved in my memory.
That's
and
amazing.
I operate according to it.
So we'll make sure I'll put the link as a top one recommendation. Start with your personal mission statement, and I'll put that as the link in the show notes. Michael, I asked this question to every guest that's on the podcast show. What is your meaning of motivation without the hype, and how do you use motivation for your personal success?
Like motivation without the hype. I wrote about it when I researched it when I was writing The Art of Persistence. There are two meanings of motivation in English. One is like this feeling, this instant energy you have, and the other is this deep meaning you have. And both are valid and both has their places. But in our culture, we cannot so much more motivation with this first instant, a quick burst of energy. And then that's, if you overuse it, it's like, being adrenaline junkie. It's just hype. This is what I mean by hype. And what we see in media and social media, all those stories, overnight successes, this is hype. And motivation without hype is like, I would say, to be ready to do whatever it takes to arrive where you want to arrive. So my personal mission is to in one sentence, progress is my duty. So I grow every single day, and this is my motivation without hype. Like doing those small habits, small things every single day. There is no hype in that. The hype happens when you look back, 10 years back. Like 10 years ago, 17th of October, I was in the process of creating my personal mission statement. And then, 10 years later, 19 books, 80,000 copies sold, business started, business coaching practice, and so on. Like the gap is huge, enormous, but it happened during those 10 years. This is without the hype, like sticking to it, doing it because it's important for you, not because it's shiny.
That is powerful. Everything you said is super valid. And, people tend to think that success is overnight and motivation is overnight, but it's not. It's the grind. It's the hard work. It's the experience. It's the ups. It's the downs. It's pursuing your personal mission. It's pursuing the values that you have that gives you, that lights the fire within. And it's, Rome wasn't built overnight, wasn't it? It took progressive time, and same thing in business, same thing in your personal life. It does take time, but you'll get there. Like you said, repeated discipline, repeated over time with great habits will get you to that key result. So thank you so much, Michael. That was so awesome. And it's such a privilege to have you on the show. Guys, for more information, how you can get in touch with Michael, look at our show notes. Again, we'll provide those recommendation authored books. You got to grab it. And also, he's got LinkedIn as well, so you can connect with him through there as well. So guys, connect with him and follow him right now. So if this episode has been helpful and uplifting, we would love for you to write a review to inspire more listeners to get plugged in. We will continue to provide high value content in each and every episode. Now, if you don't mind sharing this podcast show on social media by inviting others, it would mean the world to me. Every time you tag me or tag us, we will get the opportunity to share those posts, and together we can make a difference in the lives of others through inspirational episodes just like this. So there you have it. In closing, continue to unleash your greatness and tell yourself that I can, I will, and I must, and we'll see you on the next episode.